අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Friday, the 31st of March 2023. Digital economy. Adopting new technologies and innovative solutions are essential to promote sustainable economic growth, says President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
To start it off this year, I am setting aside 100 million rupees. Next year we want the research. I want to do the research with the main focus on AI. And for that, next year, I'll set aside ₹1 billion.
Subsiding. The CCPI-based inflation reduces to 50.3% in March 2023 by 0.3% from February. Commitment. Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe and Secretary to the Treasury Mahinda Siriwardena assured Sri Lanka's commitment to successfully completing the IMF program to the creditors.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අධිකාරමක්. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Anuradhi Wickremesinghe. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, you're watching First at 9. We start off tonight's bulletin with President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasizing the need to adopt new technologies and innovative solutions to promote sustainable economic growth and enhance global competitiveness, and added that it will help Sri Lanka remain focused on achieving its goals and becoming a truly digital economy. Addressing the launch of DigiEcon 2023, the head of state said that 100 million rupees will be allocated this year to start planning the digital policy by integrating universities and other research institutes. President Wickremesinghe also added that next year will see 1 billion rupees being allocated for conducting research focusing on artificial intelligence. Launch of the program DigiEcon 2023 under the theme Accelerating Sri Lanka's Economy Through Cutting-Edge Technology was held in Colombo last evening under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
We are gathered here for the planning kick-off of DigiEcon 2030. This is a regulatory policy framework that will give directions and gesture of commitment of the government towards facilitating a digital ecosystem to all stakeholders. Under this program, we hope to address many areas including implementation of unique digital ID, eGov to provide digital-enabled services through government institutions, a single window system to provide one-stop shop for investors to access regulatory and administration services. The growth of digital economy comes in increased risk of cyber security. We intend to present the Cyber Security Act to Parliament during the course of this year.
Advances in technology and windows to the future are going to keep opening, and Sri Lanka can take advantage of that if it focuses on these foundations, building the strong human capital base, creating the right kinds of infrastructure, mobilizing private capital and innovation and investment into the economy, having the talent pool that is enabled through the right business climate. Those are the foundations on which a Sri Lanka and a digital economy in Sri Lanka can grow and accelerate the broader growth and inclusive growth, and one that is resilient into the future.
As far as the digital economy is concerned, we have now to develop our digital policy, which we haven't done so. We have to do this together with the industry. Government spending cannot drive the digital economy. The digital economy has to be driven by the private sector. We should not stand in the way. That's going to be our policies. So we should not think of digital policy as being centered around the government. But there is certainly a duty of the government to accelerate the digitalization by digitalizing the government sector. What we plan to do in this government is to appoint a cabinet committee of ministers to ensure that the government sector digitalization is done fast and done quickly. We should also coordinate and work together with our neighboring countries. I am looking forward to the economic and technological cooperation partnership with India. The infrastructure required will have to be provided by the private sector. Government is not in a position to do so. This is one of the reasons that has led the government to privatize Sri Lanka Telecoms. We need foreign investment. In this way, we are laying the groundwork for the government policy on digitalization. We should also focus on areas that are easy for us to develop. One such area is artificial intelligence. Second area, I would say, is research. Research is lacking in Sri Lanka. There isn't sufficient research being done. I don't intend in any way to start new research institutions. What we want are the universities and the private sector to link up. To plan out this policy, the state minister will speak to you all and then report back to the cabinet committee. To start it off this year, I am setting aside 100 million rupees. Next year we want the research. I want to do the research with the main focus on AI. And for that, next year, I'll set aside ₹1 billion. Depending on how you perform, then we can decide what we give for 2025. This government as a whole is determined to modernize the country and to digitalize the country. And you can rest assured that we will do everything to ensure Sri Lanka comes out as one of the leading nations in the region as far as digitalization is concerned.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe and Secretary to the Treasury Mahinda Siriwardena expressed the Sri Lankan government's commitment to implementing the reform agenda in order to support Sri Lanka's economic recovery and successfully completing the IMF program. During a virtual presentation with the island nation's commercial creditors, they said that Sri Lanka is looking forward to accelerating and intensifying engagement with all the creditors in a transparent way, in good faith, while hoping to reach debt treatment agreements consistent with the IMF debt sustainability analysis. A presentation chaired by the Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe and the Treasury Secretary Mahinda Siriwardena to update Sri Lanka's commercial creditors and investors following the IMF Executive Board approval of Sri Lanka's IMF program under the Extended Fund Facility on 20th March was held virtually yesterday. According to the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilization and National Policies, it was held to outline the EFF-supported program's objectives as well as the next steps with regard to engagement with creditors. Following the meeting, the Central Bank Governor and the Treasury Secretary released a joint statement to the media. The statement said the IMF program provides a clear roadmap in terms of policy implementation and will stabilize the economy of Sri Lanka and allow the country to regain its growth potential and address its economic vulnerabilities. Both the Central Bank Governor and the Treasury Secretary state that as per the IMF program, they are fully committed to achieving fiscal consolidation and implementing fiscal structural reforms such as resorting public debt sustainability, price stability and rebuilding external buffers, safeguarding financial system stability and reducing corruption vulnerabilities and further introducing growth-enhancing reforms. Their statement also said that Sri Lanka aims to enhance the existing social safety nets to protect the most vulnerable as a part of the IMF program. Further, they said they will continue to implement their reform agenda in order to support Sri Lanka's economic recovery and successfully complete the IMF program. Since Sri Lanka is facing a significant external financing gap over the IMF program period, the Central Bank Governor and the Treasury Secretary said the financing gap will have to be covered through new external funding and external debt service relief, and added that the authorities are also exploring options for a domestic debt optimization operation aimed at liquidity relief while preserving financial stability to avoid further eroding of Sri Lanka's repayment capacity. They also said it is envisaged that this domestic debt optimization will be conducted on a voluntary basis and be based on our consultations with major treasury bondholders. Going forward, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe and Mahinda Siriwardena said they are looking forward to accelerating and intensifying engagement with all our creditors in a transparent way, in good faith, and added that they are hoping to reach debt treatment agreements that are consistent with the IMF debt sustainability analysis and with the comparability of treatment principle. Now, the Colombo Consumer Price Index-based headline inflation reduced to 50.3% in March 2023 from 50.6% recorded in February 2023. The figure for March is a 0.3% drop compared to the figure recorded in February. The Department of Census and Statistics said the year-on-year inflation of the food group substantially dropped to 47.6% in March, while year-on-year inflation in the non-food group increased to 51.7%.
Headline inflation, as measured by the year-on-year change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index, decreased to 50.3% in March 2023 from 50.6% recorded in February 2023. According to the Department of Census and Statistics, the year-on-year inflation of the food group substantially dropped to 47.6% in March from the 54.4% recorded last month, while year-on-year inflation in the non-food group increased to 51.7% this month from 48.8% recorded in February 2023. For the month of March, the contribution to inflation by food commodities on year-on-year basis was 14.93%. The contribution of the non-food items was 35.46%, which is mainly due to increases in value change in groups of housing, water, gas and other fuels, which was 11.44%, transport, which stood at 9.96%, and restaurants and hotels, which reported 3.64%. The CCPI for all items for the month of March was recorded at 195, with an increase of 5.5 in index points or 2.92% from February 2023, for which the index was 189.5.
Now, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara has written to the Inspector General of Police requesting for an investigation into the group of persons who forcibly entered the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited premises on the 28th of March. Accordingly, Wijesekara had requested the Criminal Investigation Department to conduct a probe into the trade union leaders and others who forcibly entered the CPSTL premises in Kolonnawa earlier this week. On the 28th of March, Union Collective of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation launched a strike against alleged attempts of the governments to privatize the corporation. Now, Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Ruwan Wijewardena, says most of the parliamentarians of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya are ready to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe. However, SJB General Secretary Ranjit Maduma Bandara assured that their parliamentarians will not cross over to the government.
මගේ සහෝදර මන්ත්‍රීවරු අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට එකට හිටියේ සජබෙත් එක්ක ගියාත් මාත් එක්ක කතා කරලා කියන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාට අපි සහයෝගය දෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඉතින් දැන් ඇත්තම කට්ටියට තේරුණා. එළියට ඇවිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ පක්ෂ දේශපාලනය කළා එතුමාට බැන්නට හවස් වරුවේ කතා කරලා කියනවා මේ සහයෝගය දෙන්නම් හරි වෙලාවට කියලා.
අද කතා වෙනවා රටේම මොකද්ද මේ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් එහාට මෙහාට යනවා. සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ විදියට අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් අපේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු මුදලට යට වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා මං පැහැදිලිව කියනවා. මට ආරංචි මිලියන 200ක ඔෆර් එකක් තියෙනවා මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට. අපි පක්ෂයේ ඉන්නේ 40 ගානයි නේ. එහෙනම් ඉතින් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයයි මාත් යන්න ඕනේ එහෙමනම්. 2020 ඉඳලා අද වෙනකොට 34 දෙනෙක් ආණ්ඩුවෙන් විපක්ෂයට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. දන්නවා ඊළඟ මැතිවරණයක් කෙනකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ආණ්ඩුව ව්‍යාපාර වලින් ඉවත් වී තිබෙනවා. පෞද්ගලික අංශය සම්පූර්ණ ව්‍යාපාර සඳහා ඉදිරියට යාමට අවස්ථාව දී යුතුයි.
තෙල් මිල අඩු කිරීම රජය ලබා දුන්න සහනයකට වඩා ලෝක තෙල් මිල තාමත්ම බරපතල ලෙස අඩුවීමේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් බව මම ඔබට කියන්නට ඕනේ. පළවෙනි ජනාධිපතිතුමා පළව හැරපු කාලේනේ. ඒ වෙලාවේ තමයි ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ තෙල් මිල ඉහළම අගයක තිබුණේ. බොරතෙල් බැරලයකට ඩොලර් 120ක විතර මුදලක තිබුණා. 120 තිබිච්ච තෙල් මිල අද ඩොලර් 60ට බහැලා. කියන්නේ හරි අඩකින් අඩු වෙලා. ගිය අවුරුද්දේ මාර්තු මාසයේ ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ තෙල් මිල බොරතෙල් බැරලයකට ඩොලර් 110ක් විතර වුණා. ඒ වෙලාවේ ලංකාවේ ඔක්ටේන් 92 රුපියල් 254යි. අද එකකින් භාගයයි ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ තෙල් මිල. එහෙනම් මීට වඩා අඩු වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම මේ සහන ජනතාවට ලැබිලා නැහැ.
Sri Lanka's tourism sector is on the mend. This is according to the central bank, which added that workers' remittances are also seeing a notable increase. More on this right after the break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Apico Super Center, Arudu Super Shopper. Amazing 50% discounts. Shop for 7,500 rupees or more with an Apico Privilege card, including 5 nominated brands.
Let's go! Apico Super Center.
ලාභ ඉපයීම් සහ කොටස් කරුවන් සඳහා ප්‍රතිලාභ වසරින් වසර ඉහළට 2022 දී රුපියල් බිලියන 23.6ක බදු පෙරලාභයක්. ශ්‍රී ලංකා ඉන්ෂුරන්ස්.
Welcome back. The central bank says workers' remittances and earnings from tourism continue to improve in February 2023 with reduced expenditure on imports. In its external sector performance report for the month, export earnings in February 2023, however, have declined year-on-year, resulting in sizable moderation in the trade deficit. The CBSL said the exchange rate appreciated notably in March 2023 following the greater flexibility that was allowed in the determination of the exchange rate. According to the external sector performance report released by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka for the month of February, earnings from merchandise exports declined by 10.2% in February 2023 year-on-year to $982 million. Export earnings recorded below the $1 billion level for the second consecutive month. While the decline in earnings was observed across all main categories, industrial exports mainly contributed to the overall contraction. The value of cumulative export earnings during January to February 2023, which amounts to $1.96 billion, is a 10.7% reduction compared to the amount recorded over the same period of last year. Expenditure on merchandise imports was almost halved in February 2023 at $1.02 billion compared to February 2022, recording the lowest imports since May 2020. All major import sectors declined, while the decline in expenditure on intermediate goods was significant. Meanwhile, cumulative import expenditure during January to February 2023 stood at $2.4 billion, which is a 37.1% decline compared to the figure recorded over the corresponding period in 2022. The deficit in the merchandise trade account narrowed significantly to $39 million in February 2023 from $780 million to February 2022, mainly reflecting the impact of significant moderation of import expenditure due to subdued aggregate demand conditions. The cumulative deficit in the trade account during January to February 2023 was $449 million, a sizable decline from $1,636 million recorded over the same period in 2022. In the meantime, $407 million worth of workers' remittances were recorded during February 2023 in comparison to $205 million recorded in February 2022. The total departures for foreign employment during the month were recorded at 23,974. Tourist arrivals in February, meanwhile, increased to 107,639 compared to 102,545 arrivals recorded in January 2023 and 96,507 recorded in February 2022. Earnings from tourism in the month of February 2023 are estimated at $170 million in comparison to $162 million in the previous month and $169 million in the corresponding month in the previous year. Russia, India, the United Kingdom, Germany and France remain the main source countries for tourist arrivals in February 2023. Let's now take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Now, the Colombo bourse ended higher today, helped by gains in industrials and consumer discretionary stocks. The all-share price index rose by 0.79% to 9,301.09 points. The S&P SL20 index ended at 2,682.83 points, following a gain of 0.70%. Conglomerate Expo Lanka Holdings PLC and Ceylon Tobacco Company PLC were the top boots on the index, rising 5.8% and 2.2% respectively. The trading volume for the CSE All-Share Index rose to 382.4 million shares from about 45.7 million in the previous session, touching its highest level since 1st of February 2022. The market turnover rose to 4.27 billion Sri Lankan rupees or $13.1 million from 912.7 million rupees in the previous session. Foreign investors were net sellers in the equity market, offloading 2.6 billion rupees worth of shares, while domestic investors were net buyers, buying stocks worth 4.20 billion rupees. And that is all we have for you tonight at First at 9. Join us again tomorrow at the same time. Stay tuned for World News Tonight coming up next. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
For news News and information you can trust 24 hours a day. Visit AdaDerana.lk.